Coming up, it's Roundup Day for Debbie and me. We're going to talk about whether flag burning should be a crime, the Trump versus Newsom showdown, who will win the nationwide redistricting fight, what's next for Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and Israel's plan for a new administrative structure for Gaza. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, X or Rumble, listening on Apple or Spotify, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe, the follow, the notifications button. I'd really appreciate it. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
America needs this voice. The times are crazy. In a time of confusion, division, and lies, we need a brave voice of reason, understanding, and truth. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
Debbie and I are here for our Friday roundup, and if we're looking especially fit and healthy, I think the reason has to be attributed to our new practice of our daily walk. You'll give me a look like, what are you about to say?
Well, no, it's because we're going to talk about Cracker Barrel. So I thought you were going to say it's because we stay out away from Cracker Barrel.
No, we haven't gotten to the Cracker Barrel issue yet. But what it is that of course we do exercise, but we often go, that becomes sporadic. But we've now started this beautiful.
We've been walking every day, 3 miles every day. Rain literally or shine. And the other day we got caught in the rain.
We live in a fairly rainy spot in Texas, and we just got a major blast a couple of days ago. And we weren't exactly close to home either.
We were 30 minutes away from the house. Yeah. I mean, because we do 30 minutes one way. We walk down our neighborhood 30 minutes and then 30 minutes back. And I knew something was up because it was really cloudy. No thunder though, but really cloudy. And I was like, I looked at my app and it said it will start raining around 10 o'clock. So I was like, oh, we have plenty of time.
Because we're starting early.
Yeah, and not so.
And then you're like, do you think we might be able to go knock on someone's door and tell them, hey, we were stranded?
That would be really funny.
In Texas, you really shouldn't be doing that.
No,
that's a little dangerous.
I think it's too dangerous.
Because people think this is like a home invasion.
Especially in our neighborhood, because everybody's right wing.
Some Indian guy and some Venezuelan woman are trying to break into our house, honey. Go get the AR-15. No, I mean, we have to be careful.
We have to be really careful. There was a little pavilion, but then I was like, what if it doesn't stop raining and we're sitting under it and waiting for the rain to stop and it won't stop? So anyway, we made it home.
We're trying to convey how hardcore we are about our, yes.
And even going on vacation, we've been walking there too. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Let's talk about Cracker Barrel. So Cracker Barrel has surrendered, it seems, and they have agreed to bring back their logo. Now, probably there's some people thinking, what's the big deal about this? They had a logo, they got rid of their logo. But I think what's going on here is there is a counter movement against woke corporate exhibitionism. And I think the way for it to work is exactly the same way that the Democrats were able to enforce their ideas, right? The way they enforce their ideas is if somebody goes against them. Like if somebody were to, let's just say, I won't bake a cake for a gay couple, they're like, we have to come down like a ton of bricks on this guy. We've got to
put him out of business.
Put him out of business if we can, because we've got to send a message that it's not okay. And I think in some ways we're doing the same thing. We're sending a message.
And it's very rare. We don't usually do stuff like that.
This shows the new temperament, maybe not of the Republican Party, but of the MAGA right, for sure. Which is
that's a little bit louder than the
and it's showing some of the again, I'm not even saying that it's a bad thing. We're so used to thinking of intolerance as a bad thing, but intolerance of bad things is not a bad thing. And that's what you have here. What you have here is Cracker Barrel is sort of like, we're new age, we're woke. I don't know if you've seen the photos of the two women, the CEO and the marketing director. They look like clones of each other. They both have the thick rimmed spectacles. They're like these girl boss, like 40-somethings. this is the type of people who
like
run
the Portlandia people.
They run corporations into the ground. This is like the standard bio, right? But here's the point that I think is where we're at on this, and that is essentially they're going back to the old logo, but the corporation itself is infested with DEI, with LGBTQ. They're behind the pride parades. So they're not changing their basic ideology. It's almost like a university saying, we'll change our symbol or we'll change our name, but we'll kind of keep...
Do you think people knew that the company was this left?
Not at all. Not at all. Because I think that the image of Cracker Barrel...
I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't either. The image of the company is actually kind of old-fashioned, right? In fact, old-fashioned is their brand. Rocking chairs.
Well, yes, and also their menu. Hello, you go into their restaurant and they have nothing healthy to eat. So you think of these like bohemians to have like grass-fed beef and salads and things like that, and this place has nothing but like grit. Just
I mean, it's mac and cheese. It's like
chicken
big
fried
biscuits,
steak,
chicken fried steak.
So,
look, I guess what you're saying is we're contrasting this kind of down-home, more traditional food.
Yeah, comfort food.
Very different from this kind of California New Age food.
Right.
But it seems like they have New Age personnel running the country, running the company. So... The question always becomes in these cases, are they trying to find a whole new group of customers? And that's not a bad thing for a corporation to do, but not by repudiating the customers you already have, because you're probably not going to find more new people than you are to lose old people.
Not to mention how many of the bohemians will eat that kind of food anyway. I'm just saying.
Right. So it's commercially a bad decision. And the other thing is, it's interesting. I think a lot of these things, when I looked into it a little bit, they start out with a lawsuit. Somebody sues Cracker Barrel and says, you discriminate against gays. And then Cracker Barrel
caves.
Yeah, and it's not just that they cave by like paying a settlement. They cave by
changing everything.
They essentially become almost like a gay company.
Yeah.
And look.
Well, I mean, it's just... Again, it's okay, I guess, to be a gay company, but as long as you have gay customers only, right? People that want to promote this kind of lifestyle and this kind of living and all of that, that's fine. But when you don't have those as your customer base, and all of a sudden your customers realize that what they're supporting, because remember you had that gentleman on, Robert, to talk about things that you investing in Christian values, right?
Biblically responsible investing, right? I think he called it.
So biblically responsible investing in paying for food, right? Going to a restaurant and being a customer at a restaurant that promotes these kinds of ideas that are against what you believe in, well, that's wrong,
This is, again, something I think that our side is being more mobilized about, because if you think about it, in the 1980s or 90s, you or I, we didn't know each other, but we wouldn't dream of being concerned with what a corporation is doing when we are looking at its product. You pick up the product, you're like, do I want this? Yeah, it looks good, buy it. Right? So in that sense, we were content with the surface.
Yeah.
But now for the first time, we're like, listen, I might like to go to Disney, but I don't like what that company stands for. I don't want to give them my money. Even though my kids may want to go, I'm going to try to convince them to go elsewhere.
I know that's really the sad thing, is that some of these companies have been taken over by the Moulin Rouge, I call it. And if you don't go, there's no other place to go. There's no other Disney, right?
True.
which is, why several years ago I was like, listen, we need to have our own Disney.
Like
we
a
have
rival
a
Disney.
rival Disney that has all kinds of really cool rides, but it also has a learning mechanism to it. And it's Americana, and it's, America first, all those things.
Which
we
you would
don't have
never
that.
dream of doing, because when I came to America in 1978, I went to Disney for the first time. I think it was in early 79, maybe the summer of 79.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was that. It
Right.
was Americana.
Yeah.
There would be absolutely no reason to do another Disney because we had Disney. And
Right.
Disney sort of was it.
That's right.
But Disney has become something quite different.
Disney on the East Coast, Disney on the West Coast,
Right.
Disneyland,
Disney World, which I assume now are ideologically the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a need for something different. Let's talk about, we call this episode CEO of America.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's based on the insight that when you look at the way that Trump is running the country, it's almost like he is the CEO of the American corporation.
100%. But not like a fascist.
Not at all.
Like a fascist. Like a business person, which a fascist would not do, by the way.
Well, this is a key point, because I think from the left's point of view, they see him as some kind of an authoritarian, some kind of a fascist,
Mm-hmm.
because he does things in the business way. And the
Mm-hmm.
classic example of this is this whole negotiation with Intel,
Right.
in which Intel agrees to give the government a 10% share in the corporation. Now, think of it this way. I'm going to give you Trump's side. Trump is thinking like this. I represent the American people. If I can get a big company to fork over 10% of its profits, where's that going? I'm not taking it. It's going into the coffers of the American people. The American people are better off.
Yeah. Do you know the backstory to this, though?
Go ahead.
The Biden administration gave Intel $11 billion.
Oh, interesting.
And Besant was on some show a few days ago, and he said, we're just getting it back.
That's interesting. So it's a way of recovering.
That's right.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
What I thought was, and in fact,
No.
I read this, that Intel was trying to navigate its way around the tariffs.
Oh, yeah.
And Trump is like, I'll make it easy for
Yeah.
you, and I'll give you. But what you're saying is, no, this is almost like, I mean, the Biden people did a lot of really bad stuff. And
That's
some
right.
of it going to the very last minute
That's right.
of the Biden administration.
Mhm.
So what you're saying is this is just clawing
That's
back
right.
money that was in some ways stolen, because
From the
Biden wasn't
taxpayers.
parting with his own money.
That's right. No,
Stealing from the taxpayer, and Trump is essentially
getting it back.
reimbursing the taxpayer. That's pretty fascinating. Now, in what way, thinking about, I've been obviously just finished my whole series on Reagan. And,
I know.
And I noticed that you identified with it a lot because
I got teary-eyed a lot, I have to say. I still do when I think of Reagan.
yeah,
Look at me. I'm getting like emotional.
right.
Yeah.
The magnitude of Reagan, I think, will become even more apparent as the years go by. And I think we can agree that even from now, normally you can't pronounce any kind of verdict on a president while he's still in office. There's no question Trump is going to be a massively consequential president. But I think the verdict on Trump, ultimately, you need some aspect of the rearview mirror. You can't start writing the history of Trump just yet.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you could make a partial assessment of the first term,
Mm-hmm.
but we have a different Trump. So the full picture awaits a future chronicler.
That's right.
But Reagan did not have the CEO style that Trump
Right.
does.
Right.
Reagan's style was, in that way, more conventionally political. But Trump will essentially look at a problem and sort of say, if I represent America, how would I tackle this problem? It's just a different psychology altogether.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Mike Lindell tells me a big retail chain just canceled a massive order, leaving my pillow with an overstock of classic pillows. But you know what? Their loss is your gain. For a limited time, my pillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. Get a standard my pillow, just $17.98. Upgrade to a queen size, $22.98, or a king size, $24.98. You can snag body pillows for $29.98. and versatile multi-use pillows for just $9.98. Plus, when you order over $75, you get $100 in free digital gifts, no strings attached. That's right, premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it off. So don't wait. Call 800-876-0227. That's 800-876-0227, or go to mypillow.com. Don't forget the promo code. It's DINESH Dinesh. And go ahead and grab your standard MyPillow for just $17.98 while supplies last. Whenever I flip a container around and can't pronounce it or recognize the ingredients, I put it back. But this is why you'll find Balance of Nature's fruit and veggie supplements. Take a look. Fruits and veggies in a capsule. You're going to find these on a shelf in my home. Every single ingredient is a fruit or veggie plucked from the soil. No binders, no additives, no artificial colors, no fillers. Just whole fruits and veggies, gluten-free and vegan-friendly. These harvested ingredients are freeze-dried into a fine powder using an advanced vacuum cold process to better preserve nutritional value. I can say with confidence I'm getting 31 ingredients from fruits and veggies, and if you don't like taking the pills, no problem. Consider opening the fruit and veggie supplements, mix the powder into a smoothie, or just sprinkle it over food. Join me in taking Balance of Nature every day. Use my discount code AMERICA. You get 35% off, free shipping, plus for a limited time. Take a look at this. This is Fiber and Spice, and you get a free bottle of Fiber and Spice. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Again, use discount code AMERICA, 35% off, plus a free bottle of Fiber and Spice. Go to balanceofnature.com. Let's move on to tariffs and income tax.
Yeah,
and one question you've actually asked me more than once is like, is this realistic, right? In other words, there's been not just Trump. I think I've heard Scott Bessent also say, we're trying to build a tariff. I think they call it the External Revenue Service, which is a very clever title, right? We're going to bring money in from foreigners so that we don't need to take as much money from Americans. So see how consistent this is with the America First philosophy?
Right. Yeah.
Now, the truth of it is a giant amount of money does come in from taxpayers, and particularly taxpayers in the upper middle class and the wealthy. Those two groups together pay something like 2/3 of all the taxes, the majority, well over 50% of the taxes in America.
Yeah.
So you can get there, but to get there, the tariff revenue has got to be quite large.
Right. And it looks like it's beginning to be quite large.
Some of the numbers are pretty astonishing.
They are.
I think what Trump has done, which is nobody expected this. This is a part of the CEO style. Everybody thought that, and in fact, economists who frankly don't understand politics, most of them, so they go, well, we can't really have a 30% tariff because the Chinese will have a 30% tariff on us, right? Their assumption is that if you do it, they'll do it. But what Trump has shown is not necessarily. Trump has shown, listen, I'm going to get the Europeans to do 0. And I'm going to give them 15. But because I earlier threatened to give them 30, they think that they've gotten a pretty good deal out of me. So this is how Trump bargains.
Yeah.
Now it hasn't worked with everybody. The Canadians are still holding out, but Trump has cut a bunch of deals already.
Yep.
And in his deals, he doesn't go 0-0. He goes 0 for us, but because this is Trump's way of thinking about it, because you've been taking advantage of us for so long, we're going to need to impose a tax. I think the tax is 15%, if I'm not mistaken, on European automobiles.
Which we like.
Well, you know what? The good news of it is this. What does it do, right? From a point of view of a buyer, and we've driven European cars, but from the point of view of a buyer, what it's really doing is it's tilting the balance in favor of the American cars. Because assuming that these taxes, now I don't believe if you have a tax of 15%, it doesn't mean that the Audi or the Mercedes is automatically going to be 15% more expensive, because those companies are competing, and they might say, listen, if we raise our price 15%, we will see a diminution in sales that's going to be pretty significant. How about if we only raise prices 5%? And we eat the rest of that cost. So there's going to be some increase of prices of the European cars, but that's going to make people go, maybe I should get an American car. So this is the way in which the market gets, the price of cars doesn't necessarily go up, but the price of some cars goes up as compared to others.
Yeah. So do you think, coming back to the income tax, I know that the proposal is anybody making under $500,000 a year will not have to pay income tax. You heard that, right?
Yeah, in my view, that is a long way from happening. And the reason is that the number of people...
Well, what if they make it $100,000 and under?
That is very doable. See,
Yeah.
And I think those are the people who need the help, right?
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, somebody making $500,000, somebody making $1 million, look, do I think they should be paying 38%? No. I would like to see a tax rate for everybody that tops out at about 25%. I think that if you make $1, giving the government 25 cents is enough. So I would like to see a top tax rate that's about there. But that being said, it's not a political priority. Why? Because we're really concerned about, I would say, the working class generation that's been left behind. And so I think you're right. By and large, people who make, let's say, 40 or even close to 50,000, if there's a family of 4 and they have the normal types of deductions, they're going to pay little or no income taxes, federal income taxes. So what you're talking about is the people who make between, let's say, 40 and 100. Now, a lot of those people actually are struggling because their costs have gone up.
That's right. They can't buy a house, honey. They can't buy a house.
They can't buy a house.
Look at all these kids that are graduating college. Not only do they have loans to pay back, but they don't have like a ginormous down payment to be able to buy a house. And houses nowadays, really just even a plain house, you're looking at $300,000 to $500,000 for a house.
Yeah.
How are they going to buy that?
No, it's that. This is the point. We've had inflationary policies over the past 30 years. And many of the people who own homes over this period of time have said, hey, guess what? My home has kept pace with inflation, or my home has outstripped inflation. Well, good for you, but guess what? As a result of your house, which you bought for $190,000, that's now worth, as you say, $480,000 or $510,000, and you're feeling pretty good about it. Frankly, you're not as far ahead as you think you are, because if you actually calculate the inflation rate and the purchasing power of the dollars, it's not up all that much. But the truth of it is you have now put that house completely out of range of a new guy getting into the market, even someone who's been who's been working for 5 years. How are they going to be able to finance a $500,000 house?
Well, not to mention, what about the taxes? These people went into this thinking that they were going to have to pay taxes on a $120,000 house, and now the house is worth $350,000. How are they going to? And their job, they're not making any more money. But now they have to pay more taxes on a house they thought was $120,000.
This is why the government. There are many reasons the government likes inflation. One reason they like inflation is they borrow a lot of money, and so when you have inflation, you're paying back in cheaper dollars. You're paying back in dollars that don't buy as much as the dollars you borrowed. That's one reason. But here's another reason, and that is that when you have inflation, it kicks people into higher brackets. So the government ends up taking in more. Let's say, for example, let's look at income tax, right? You're in a 25% tax bracket. Now you're, let's say, making more money because you've gotten a raise in line with inflation. So you're happy. You think I'm making more money. But guess what? Now you're no longer in that tax bracket because your nominal income, meaning your actual dollar income, is higher. You are kicked up into a higher bracket. So now your tax bill goes up. So, and it's from the government's point of view, that's basically more moolah for them, right?
Yeah.
So these are the perverse ways in which the government basically robs us.
It's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
All right. Flag burning.
Oh, yeah.
This is an interesting issue, and you were just about to show me a survey.
Yeah. So this is a survey that PragerU, which we love PragerU, has put out on Instagram, and it's just a small percentage of people that actually vote on it, but it was 195 people, and out of the 195 people, this was what the question was: should there be a penalty for burning the American flag? Right. So 51.3% of the people said yes, plus 1 year in jail. 20% of the people flat out said no. 14.9% said yes, but just a monetary fine. And 13.8% said yes, plus 5 years in jail. So the vast majority of people think that there should be a penalty.
There should be a penalty. Now, this is a case where I would say the common sense of the matter is on one side and the First Amendment is on the other. Mm-hmm. Because the First Amendment takes a fairly hardline position. Now, I've mentioned before on the podcast that the left frequently ignores the First Amendment, and they do go after speech. And I don't think we want to have a double standard where we strictly abide by the First Amendment and they ignore it. If they get to outlaw conservatives who speak against LGBTQ, guess what? We should be able to outlaw liberals who burn the flag. Let's apply the same standard. I mean, I think we agree that is the essence of political justice, particularly in this environment. But I think the second point is that in some ways it forces you to think about how even the First Amendment is somewhat unreasonable. And by unreasonable, what I mean is this: Congress shall pass no law, look at the extremism of it, no law that restricts freedom of speech or of the press. Now, this formulation is so outrageous that from the beginning of the country, no one could take it literally, because there are many examples of, quote, speech that are quite obviously illegal. Speech, for example, that involves treason, divulging of national security secrets. If you or I conspire together in a bribery scheme, even though we are exchanging speech, or let's say you plot to kill somebody. Hey, I'm going to do this. You can do that. I'll do this. Mm-hmm. Now, we haven't done any conduct.
Right.
We haven't actually carried anything out, but we're charged with attempted murder.
Or even yelling fire in a crowded, room or whatever. You can't do that.
You can't do that if there's no fire.
But that's what I mean.
You can do that if there is a fire.
Why did you say there was fire? Because I'm not supposed to.
Well, didn't you see the flames? I did, but many people have told me from the time I was really little, don't shout fire in a crowded theater. Right? Yeah. So falsely shouting fire is not...
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah, no.
That's all right. Let's talk about redistricting I was going to say redistricting in Texas, but this is no longer a Texas fight.
No.
It's become a national fight. And it's become a national fight basically between the blue states going, bring it on, and the red states replying, we're bringing it on. Right? I think they were trying to stampede Texas into abandoning its redistricting scheme, but Texas went ahead. Now, California is trying to put it on the ballot so that they can neutralize this 5-seat. Now, here's some of the background that many people don't know. The Democrats, by stacking their states with illegals, have artificially boosted their own representation.
That's right.
So here's a point. They have illicit seats that are going to places like California that are reflecting citizens plus illegals, not just citizens alone. That's one problem. And the other problem is that the census itself, in the last census, admitted that they overcounted the blue states and they undercounted the red states. Now, the census acted like this was an honest mistake. Sorry, there's nothing we can do about it now. But the Trump people are like, this is a mistake with real world consequences.
Yeah, but it's not a mistake. It's actually on purpose by the left. They know it.
What the left does is they realize, oh, we're going to have a census. And so we sit back and go, okay, it's a census. They're going to be counting the Americans. The left is like, no, it's a census, but who is going to be taking the census? Who's going to be doing the counting? After all, this is going to affect political representation. Yeah. It's kind of the way we noticed this as we were looking at making 2,000 Mules, the way the left approaches, say, absentee ballots. Right? The right basically goes, okay, I voted, I went behind the curtain, I cast my vote, now I'm just going to go home and watch the returns and see who wins the election. The left is like, no, we're only getting started, right? Once a ballot comes in as an absentee ballot, someone's going to open it and they're going to look at that page. What if they see a check mark over here, but a little smudge over there? Who's going to decide if that counts as a vote and for which candidate? Who's going to resolve? Let's just say that there is a signature, but it's not in the right place. Who's going to decide if that's a valid vote? So the left understands the importance of controlling the process.
Absolutely. This is why they don't care if you're comatose as long as you vote. I mean, they'll go to
Remember how they were
homes?
They were actually boasting that Jimmy Carter voted, and when you looked at Jimmy Carter, he looked like he had already been dead 3 months.
Yeah, no, I know. They are crooks. I'm telling you. And so this is what is so irritating. Even the other day, I saw a video on Obama. Obama was saying about, oh, gerrymandering, gerrymandering is so bad. And then someone made the comment, Obama, by the way, you won your Senate seat by gerrymandering. So they're just hypocrites. I mean, hypocrites.
They think nothing of saying something like this. Gerrymandering is an attack on democracy, right? And then if you were to sarcastically ask them, say, all right, can you give us an explanation why gerrymandering in Texas is an attack on democracy, but the gerrymandering you already did in Illinois, in Maryland, let's even show you these unbelievably contortionist maps. How is that not an attack on democracy?
They did it.
Then they go, no, that's, you know what it reminds me of? This is that, you'll chuckle over this. Bob Dole, who was a very funny guy, but see, Bob Dole was self-consciously humorous, right? Bob Dole was in a panel discussion, and somebody asked him, they go, Senator Dole, can you tell me if political commercials are good for democracy? And he looks and he goes, well, mine are. Right? But everybody howled because they got the irony of it, right? And Bob Dole himself knew what he was doing. But he wasn't.
At least he didn't fall for it, right?
No, I mean, he was being playful about it. And of course, he understood that that's not a principled position to take. Obviously, he thought that he was being funny.
He was being funny.
Right? But what happens
Which is really weird because he wasn't really that funny.
He wasn't thought to be funny. In private, he was really? Extremely funny.
Because he didn't come across as funny.
Oh, no. He is the author of about 24 very memorable. I think he came up with the, since his wife was also a cabinet member, he came up with, I regret I have but one wife to give to my country. Playing off on the famous line, I think Nathan Hale, I regret I have but one life to give to my country. Bob Dole was, I regret I have but one wife to give to my country.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
she was formidable
extremely
as well.
witty. Microplastics are now everywhere. Studies show 94% of U.S. tap water and bottled water worldwide contain microplastics. Microplastics are in 88% of our meat and seafood. So even if you eat clean, you're still taking in plastic and it's damaging your health. These particles pass through the gut barrier, enter your bloodstream, and trigger a wave of oxidative stress, which scientists now link to inflammation, mutations, and even cancer. But there's hope, and it starts in the gut. Kimchi One from Brightcore Nutrition is one of the most powerful natural detoxifiers on the planet. It contains a unique probiotic strain that is proven to degrade BPA, plus over 900 other strains that help flush toxins, restore gut health, and support your immune system. This isn't just about digestion, it's about protecting your future. Right now, my viewers can get 25% off Kimchi One with code Dinesh at mybrightcore.com/Dinesh. But even better, you can call. And if you call, you get up to 50% off, free shipping, and a bottle of vitamin D3, but only when you call. So here's the number, write it down, 888-927-5980. The number again, 888-927-5980. Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
The Maryland man.
The Maryland man. It's the headlines. You would think after people ruthlessly mock the Maryland man, the media would be like, you know what, this kind of headline isn't really, but no, they continue.
Well, remember I showed you 3 different headlines from 3 different places.
Yeah.
CNN, Fox, and I think New York Post.
That's right.
And in New York Post and Fox, it was one of them, I don't remember which one it was, but one of them was the man who, Abrego Garcia, the man who was deported to, El Salvador, blah, 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 right? But CNN, the Maryland man who was illegally deported. Think of that.
Right. He was not illegally deported. I mean, well,
and
put it
he
this
wasn't
way.
really a Maryland man either.
He wasn't a Maryland man. He wasn't illegally
he
deported.
He wasn't a Salvadorian man.
Right. So what the left does is they take a federal judge who makes a ruling. Mm-hmm. That ruling may be overruled by a court of appeals. It might even be struck down by the Supreme Court. But because a judge said so at one time, he's been illegally deported. Mm-hmm. So this is the tendentiousness, the one-sidedness, the blatant partisanship of the left.
It's just so hard to understand, to fathom how the left wants to die on a hill for someone who's obviously a crook.
Yes. I mean, he's a lawbreaker for sure.
Yeah.
Quite apart from all the other laws that he's now charged with. And the other thing is, I find, you look at this guy, Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland. He's the senator of a state. And I'm sure there are many needy citizens in that state who have various issues, and they could be having to do with their unresolved issues with taxes or building permits. But this guy is obsessed with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the one guy who's not a Maryland man and not a constituent.
Not an American citizen.
Right.
Hello.
And yet this guy, not content with having gone to El Salvador and had margaritas, is constantly monitoring the case and claiming, I will stand in the gap and I will do this. And I think to myself, but when we say weird, it's not weird in the sense that this is reflecting the priorities of the Democratic Party.
True. Yeah,
right?
True.
In other words, they prefer an illegal to a legal. Not only that, but I would say, and do you agree with this? They prefer a criminal illegal.
Oh, yes.
So to them, it is to Kilmar Garcia's credit that he's also accused of crimes. If he was merely an illegal...
How do you see him in a car smuggling people?
Well, he has like 12 people in the car. Let's start there.
Yeah. Clearly
what
smuggling.
Are they doing in the car?
And
where are they headed?
And how is it that he's not accused of smuggling them? Isn't he driving? What? I mean, it's just, I don't know. I give up.
Yeah. This guy has, apparently he has an army of attorneys. So one guy. Mm-hmm. So what this shows, again, it shows that from the point of view of the left, he is a prized... I'm not saying they really care about him, because they don't.
No.
But he is a representative of their cause.
Yeah.
And they deploy resources. Mm-hmm. So look at the people that the left is willing to go to bat for over the years. Not just Kilmar right now. George Floyd. George Floyd is a hero from their point of view. Trayvon Martin is a hero from their point of view. Mm-hmm. They look for people like that to elevate. Mm-hmm. And look at the way they canonize George Floyd. I mean, there are actually in blue cities monuments to George Floyd.
Yeah, I know. That's
monuments.
Very strange, but
very strange.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Israel. We're
Yeah.
making a film on Israel. It is very close to being done.
We're going to Israel in a couple weeks.
We are going to Israel in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
In fact, Danielle will sit in for me.
Yeah.
The week that we're gone, and we're going to a auspicious event.
Yeah. But we can't talk
which
about
we're
that
not going to go into, but nevertheless, it has to do with our interests over there in the validation of the Bible.
Yeah, hoping that we get to screen the movie.
Yeah, we want
people.
to preview the film while we're there. Now, the film itself, this is worth saying, is it's going to, it's essentially timed for October 7th. It will be in a bunch of theaters, not theaters across, not all theaters, but a bunch of theaters. On
Select
October 6th
theaters.
And on October 8th. So we're able to get the theaters the day before October 7th and the day after. And then after that, October 9th, it's going to be available for digital download, buy it and stream it. DVDs will be shipped out.
Yeah, and next week we will release the trailer, I believe.
Yes, we're aiming to release it. Well, we have the trailer ready. It's going to be released either Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe. One of those 2 days. But let's talk about what Israel is doing. Israel is basically saying Hamas has been running Gaza since it was elected in 2006. They haven't had an election since. And Israel's like, if we're going to defeat and destroy Hamas, somebody's going to have to rule Gaza. Now, the whole idea of like a Palestinian state, I think that even the left in Israel, the opposition parties to Netanyahu, have realized that that's a non-starter. Why? Because, in effect, the Palestinians had a state. In fact, they had two states. They had the West Bank and they had Gaza. And the West Bank is still intact and is, by and large, ruled by the Palestinian Authority. But Gaza forfeited its right to do that on October 7th. So you have a state. It launches this vicious armed attack. Who's going to say that that's okay? And we're going to put you right back to the way you were before so you can do it again.
Yeah, and they will do it again, by the way. They absolutely
And they will do it again.
They
Why?
Absolutely will.
Because that is their sworn ideology. I mean, not only is that their sworn ideology, look at their slogan.
That is what they
From
do.
the river to the sea,
Yeah.
right? What's the river? The Jordan River. What's the sea? The Mediterranean Sea. So you're looking at, if you look at the middle of Israel, the river is on one side, the sea is on the other. So if you want to remove Israel from the river to the sea,
that means you want to remove all of Israel.
then you want to get rid of the state of Israel.
That's right.
In fact, the fact that people in the same breath say, I want a two-state solution, and then they say from the river to the sea, that's incoherent. Because when you say two-state solution, the two states presumably are Israel, and you want a Palestinian state.
That's interesting. I mostly don't hear the two-state solution. I mostly hear from the river to the sea. That's what I mostly hear.
What I'm saying is that if you look at what recently Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, the Australian Prime Minister, and then Macron, they are all saying that they will endorse publicly a two-state solution. This is intended to jab at Israel, by the way.
No,
we'll endorse a two-state solution if you don't agree to a ceasefire. And
and you know, Israel. I'll just back up. Some of the families of the victims, the hostages, are demanding their immediate release. And I don't think that they're supporting Netanyahu in going into Gaza. I think all they want are their hostages back. And by the way, out of the 50 hostages that are still in there, they think only about 20 are still alive. So about 30 are dead.
Right.
So, but they're not thinking in terms of what's going to happen if they release the hostages and there's no negotiation and there's no, are we still going to, how are we going to continue to say that we're going to get rid of Hamas if this happens, right? So it's a very complex issue right now with that, because I told you a couple of days ago, I said, why is it that Israel doesn't take women and children hostage from Gaza?
Right.
Why not?
Actually, this is such an interesting question. It's worth slowing it down and thinking about it. because you're right, Israel has not taken a single hostage. Now, this is so like obvious, and people take it for granted. They're like, well, of course Israel hasn't taken a hostage. You know, Israel doesn't take hostages. But you actually gave the reason why Israel hasn't taken a hostage. And what is that reason?
The reason is they don't care. They're not, it's not.
The Hamas people don't care.
The Hamas people don't care. It's not leveraged. If Israel were to take women and children, Hamas would go, so what?
Kill them.
Kill them. Yeah, because
we don't care.
Because they do it themselves, actually.
Right.
So you can't negotiate with somebody that does not care about life the way you care about life.
And so what you're getting at is there is really a profound difference between these two camps. Many people make a moral equivalence. Wait a minute, Dinesh.
No.
More people have been killed in Gaza, civilians, and were killed on October 7th. And again, this is based on a sort of computer model that essentially says that a retaliation has got to limit itself to the number of actual casualties in the original attack. Now, think about it historically and how absurd that is.
It's absurd.
Right? It would be like saying, listen,
it's absurd.
You know, Germany invades Poland. How many people did the Germans actually kill? We've got to make sure that in the counterattack against Germany, we don't kill a single additional German than was killed by the Germans in the or the Japanese in Pearl Harbor. How many people were actually killed? Let's make an inventory. And then when we attack Japan, let's make sure we don't kill one more person than they killed. Nobody thinks like this.
No, and it's so unrealistic that they only think that of Israel.
And this is a point, and I do think we bring this out, is, you know, the term anti-Semitism is very, sometimes too easily bandied about. I do think that at times that term has been misused. However, this is a very good metric or standard to ferret it out. If you want to know, like, what's anti-Semitism, here's a good way to think about it. Whenever you find someone making a charge against Israel, you simply have to ask this question. Is the same charge being made under the same or similar circumstances against anyone else? And if you discover that when some other countries attacked and they retaliate disproportionately, no problem. Of course they did. You know, they suffered a home invasion. What would you expect? And so you're okay with A doing it and B doing it and C doing it and D doing it, but then it comes to Israel and suddenly you develop all these amazing moral scruples. Israel has no right to do it. You become incensed. Well, that is reflecting something about your motives.
It is. It's very obvious and apparent that this is what's happening.
Yeah. All right. Hamas propaganda booklet.
Oh, yeah. You didn't bring it, did you?
I didn't bring it to you, but I sent it to you, and you read it, and you were like hopping mad.
Well, go ahead and say what it's called, because October 7th was an offensive, and it was called the...
Okay, so it was called the Al-Aqsa Flood. Now, this is a very meaningful term. It's actually drawn out in our film and explained, so we won't need to go into it here. But it is very interesting, right? Because it is a reference that doesn't seem to have anything to do with what most people understand to be October 7th. What is Al-Aqsa? It is, in fact, the mosque that sits...
The Dome of the Rock.
Right. So the Dome of the Rock itself is a victory arch. But on the side of it is a mosque. That's the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And Hamas called October 7th the Al-Aqsa Flood. So they put out a brochure. And I sent you the brochure.
And I nearly, because...
Well, say why. What was in it?
Okay, because it basically says, it has instructions of what these Hamas, terrorists are supposed to do, right?
Right.
And it says, clearly you are not supposed to take hostages. You're not supposed to kill women and children. You're only supposed to go after the
armed enemy.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's listed, right? And then it says at the bottom, so we did not kill women and children. We did not do this, and this. And I'm like thinking, do they think we're stupid? They clearly did all those things. So, how did that happen? Why do they put this propaganda out to say that they didn't do this when, in fact, they videotaped their terrorists doing this? We have some of those videotapes, by the way.
You have a lot of them.
I have a lot of them.
You've seen them all.
All of them.
And, it's one thing if there had been a bunch of videos released, let's just say by the IDF, or, people go, well, I got these videos from AIPAC. But no, the videos are coming from the perpetrators. They filmed it.
They did.
Not only that, a number of these videos were live streamed.
Oh.
And so we have a very shocking episode in the film that concerns a man. And I won't go into the details of it, but he is calling his parents.
Oh, yeah.
Right? To talk about his role in the October 7th attacks. And he's telling his parents, go on WhatsApp. I'm live streaming it right now. Right? So this is
bragging about how many people he's killed, how many Jews he's killed.
He is beyond excited, and his family listening to him is beyond excited from their end. So what you're saying is that Hamas is shrewd enough to put out propaganda that flatly departs from the truth, and there are Hamas advocates around the world who swallow this.
Oh, they swallow it.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? Can't you? So I hope that our movie at least gives some clarity to what these monsters did on October 7th, because...
Well, the movie settles the issue, right?
Yeah.
It settles the issue because, and here's something very interesting. The state of Israel was, for various reasons, reluctant to show October 7th. We do not share those scruples. So the state of Israel had its own motives. Some of the hostage families, they were... so in a way, I think Israel took a very unreasonable or at least naive position. Here's what Israel's position was. We are going to privately show this material to journalists. We're counting on journalists to have a conscience and for them to honestly use what we're showing them to understand the situation better, not realizing that some of these journalists are not only propagandists, some of them are actually fighters on the Hamas side, or they are people who will hide Hamas terrorists. They are people who will not report on Hamas activities so that Hamas cannot be ferreted out. These are people who will blow the cover on the IDF to expose. So in other words, they are partisans in the fight. Showing them these videos
I think
is not going to do it.
I think part of it was that they, out of respect to the families of the victims,
exactly,
they didn't want people to see what they did, what these monsters did. But here's the thing. The only way that people are going to understand how vicious these people were, how just barbaric they were, how evil they were, is to see what they did.
One of the great powers of the film 2000 Mules was that in the aftermath of the election, when there was a lot of gobbledygook about, how do we know what really happened and why did people stop the count, we did something very radical, which is we are like, okay, listen, we will do our best using technology to take you right back to those events and put you at the scene and have you look at it and you make up your own mind.
You be
and
the
we
judge.
do exactly the same thing here in a way that's mind-blowing, because we put people there, they see it for themselves. What they see is going to, I think, sear their own conscience. And for that reason, I think this film is going to be amazing. It's going to cause a big
and by the way, we have to tell everybody, Monday is Labor Day. We do not have a show on Monday, Labor Day.
That's right. We'll be back in the saddle
on Tuesday,
and with maybe a new trailer.
Yes,
to show people.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify, or watch on Rumble, YouTube, and SalemNow.com.